As evidence has grown of Russian atrocities in Ukraine, so has President Biden's characterization of Vladimir Putin. Biden has called Putin a, quote, pure thug, a murderous dictator, and a war criminal. Then yesterday, the president went even further when he said this in a speech in Iowa and then said it again to comments to reporters.
Your family budget, your ability to fill up your tank, none of it should hinge on whether a dictator declares war and commits genocide half a world away. Yes, I called it genocide because it's become clearer and clearer that Putin is just trying to wipe out the idea of even being able to be a Ukrainian.
President Biden also said that it's his personal opinion, not an official legal declaration, that Putin is guilty of genocide. But his use of the word genocide drew praise from Ukrainian President Zelensky, who has repeatedly made this same exact accusation against Russia. Zelensky tweeted, quote, true words of a true leader. Calling things by their names is essential to stand up to evil. Joining us now, Daria Kalenic, Executive Director at the Anti-Corruption Action Center. And Daria, is it important that the U.S. president is calling Russia's actions genocide, and why?
It is very important. I'm very thankful for President Biden to name things which they are. You know, Vladimir Putin just told that Ukraine doesn't have the right to exist. And Ukrainian civilians are being martyred, raped, tortured, just because they are Ukrainians, and just because we have decided to have our own state. And that is the act of genocide. And that is actually a brave thing to do by the leader of the free world, of Joe Biden, to say that it's a genocide. And it's very unlikely, and it's very bad that, let's say, Emmanuel Macron is not sharing that opinion. He named that Ukrainians and Russians are brothers, and that's very humiliating for us to hear. Because brothers don't kill their brothers and sisters, and don't rape and not torture.
What would be necessary for international lawyers or institutions to officially call the Russian invasion genocide?
It's a lengthy process. We have International Criminal Court, and Ukraine already submitted their request to review these Russian activities in Ukraine. And but it will take time to proceed with all this criminal hearings. It could take decades. But it's important for Russian leadership and Russian soldiers who are implementing illegal orders to understand that sooner or later they will actually be held accountable. But, you know, in order to stop this genocide, calling it as a genocide is not enough. And what Ukraine needs and wants and asks and begs is advanced weapons. And it's uncomparable how much is money spent by Russia on weapons and Ukraine. Our annual budget for weapons is about $6 billion. And just to compare, Russians spend approximately from 150 billion to 180 billion. So it's enormous higher. And it means that we need support from our allies, and especially America, because only America can help us to stop this genocide by arming Ukraine. And it has to be not just Soviet weapon, it has to be advanced NATO weapon, which Ukrainian soldiers, Ukrainian women and men, which are on the front line, protecting our people from genocide, need to use in order to kick Russians out of Ukraine.
Russia appears to be preparing for a big new offensive in eastern Ukraine. So in terms of those advanced weapons, I mean, how urgently needed are those for the Ukrainian military and those on the ground who are resisting the invasion? And what are some of your biggest concerns about this, given the brutality that we've already witnessed and documented?
My concerns, I'm very worried about not only hundreds of thousands, but millions of Ukrainians. If we will not receive it urgently, the advanced weapons, then those atrocities which we have seen just in a couple of small cities near Kiev will be all across eastern Ukraine. And there are millions of people. So I'm afraid that there will be concentration camps. I'm afraid that Mariupol, which turned into the city of hell for people dying from hunger in the bomb shelters, that Mariupols will be all across eastern Ukraine. And just in Mariupol, already about 20,000 people just officially died. And we can estimate that it's probably 100,000 people. So on the stake is life of thousands, hundred thousands of people and millions of people. And I think that, well, I know that for Ukrainian military, for Ukrainian soldiers, and for Ukrainian civilians, it's a matter of existence. And we can't allow Vladimir Putin and his army simply to wipe Ukraine from the map and simply eliminate Ukrainians like German Nazis did with Jews. What's actually being done now in Europe is a real fascism. And we have to stop that. The only way to do that with the help of America, because America is a superpower. America has this weapon. And, one more thing I want to say is while our economy is literally destroyed, World Bank just told that we dropped in our GDP in 45%. We still are repaying our debts to European nations. But European nations like France, like Germany, like Italy was selling weapons to Russia during the last 8 years. When there was war already, when Russia occupied Crimea, occupied eastern part of Ukraine, these nations were selling weapons to Russia. And these weapons are now killing my people. And and they are not imposing full oil and trade embargo on Russia, and calling, like Emmanuel Macron, calling Russians and Ukrainians brotherhood nations. No, I want Macron to follow Joe Biden and to tell that this is a genocide. And I want France and Germany and Italy and America to supply as soon as possible to Ukraine not just Soviet junk, but real advanced weapon. We're thankful for what we have received, but in order to prevent millions of people to die in the coming even days, if not weeks, we need this as soon as possible. We need it yesterday.
Daria Kalenic, thank you so much for being here and for your analysis. Really important to keep all of that in mind as we follow the situation.
Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.